We are live. Good morning, everyone. It is 8 a.m., a little later than I usually see you. We're coming to you as a live show this morning and, a little later than usual because my little one was up sick most of the night and I'm exhausted. Um, Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I just turned my alarm off to get up, which was like going to be about 30 minutes later. So that's why we're coming to you late. That's why it's a live show this morning. Um, Figured we'd do it a little differently as well. Figured usually do the live shows in the afternoon to late afternoon. A lot of folks can't make it. Maybe some folks who don't usually get on the live shows would be able to actually make it and have their questions directly answered. Anyway, before we get started here, down below the video, as usual, all the important links to stuff that could be useful, playlists, our books, our websites, social media, including Twitter, where you should be following. Also, a link to our tour events, the Blitz tour we're going to be doing in March and April. Yeah. Other than that, see we have a lot of people joining already. But yeah, for those who are just joining, I guess I'll repeat myself. Once again, we are coming to you live this morning and a little late for two reasons. One, my little one was up sick most of the night. I am exhausted. Luckily, the babysitter is here. That is fantastic. We're working her overtime, aren't we? And I figured, hey, why not do a live in the morning so that folks who don't usually get to see the live shows, which are usually in the afternoon/evening, maybe they would get a chance to actually come on and do this. By the way, this is the Big Burb hat. If you don't know what the Big Burb is, there's a link to the Big Burb channel and the playlist of all the videos down below the video. We're making an EMP proof vehicle because it's going to be necessary. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, good to see a lot of folks joining in here. I may be exhausted from being up all night with my little one, but we're going to do our best here to answer some questions. I guess we'll start with that. Trucker Hershey talking about the doomsday clock. You know, I've never really got the doomsday clock. I'm like, what is it based on? How do they decide when to move things forward? I don't know. Kind of like the Deagle report. Like if you go look at the Deagle report now, it says, oh, in a couple years, we're supposed to have this happen, this happen, this happen. Go ahead and use the Wayback Machine to see what it said in 2015, in 2011. They just keep pushing the timeline forward. Yes, serendipity, we just started. And apologies to everyone who woke up 3 hours ago looking for the morning news. Karen Blazing Sky asking about Earth's core report. Stop skipping my videos. I did a full special on Earth's core news story a couple nights ago, and it was in that morning's daily show. Yeah. But yeah, again, sorry to everyone who woke up 3 hours ago looking for the morning news. It's interesting. I'm feeling a little more awake even right now, just seeing all this. Hopefully my sick little boy doesn't, this is not like a catchable sickness. He definitely was eating things last night he shouldn't have been eating off the floor. And, but yeah, hopefully he doesn't give the babysitter too much of a hard time like he did me all night. Anyway. All right, now we're starting to get a lot of people coming on here this morning. I've seen a couple people mention the interview I did with Jan.28.2023 Jones. Yeah, next time I do a real show where we have links to video stuff and everything, I'll be highlighting that one. If you know who Jan.28.2023 Jones is, megalith expert, her and I did a fantastic interview just a couple days ago. It really was awesome. She is a great host, really knows her stuff. First question we got in here. Antonio Garcia, would electronic storage in a steel tank like propane style dumped at the bottom of a deep lake survive the micronova? No, you're much better just putting it in a plastic bin, brother. Water is conductive. Metal is conductive. Just put it in a plastic bin and forget the lake. It's my best advice. Connie, that's funny. Hope I'm pronouncing this right. Orion Steel, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I guess since what you usually see wasn't there this morning, I'll let you know the sun is like I wasn't all last night. It's okay. So I didn't get to sleep last night because of my little one being sick. So the sun decided to fill in for us and is snoozing. If any of you know something fun to do when you catch the sun snoozing, like draw on its face or something. That's a college party joke right there. Alex George, I guess I'll start it off right away. Watch the playlist. But it is definitely too early for the watch the playlist drinking game. Ah, and the first appearance of the teal pair. I do like the teal pair. I do. I don't know why I like that little gif / meme so much, but I do. All right. I saw the question scroll by and I went to go look for it to see who asked it, and I can't figure it out, so I'll just answer it anyway. The question was, does each micronova cycle set Earth and humans back to zero? Put it this way. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that 12,000 years ago, the people were more advanced than we are right now. And yet the rock megaliths are the only things that remain. There's none of their technology. They all got set back to zero. I don't think we have a much better chance than they did, given the fact that they were, in my opinion, ahead of where we are right now. But that's interesting. Anyway, All Chat Gaming, thank you very much. That is an interesting one right there with the teal pair. As I was saying, the sun is sleeping like I wasn't last night due to my sick little boy. Check down below the video. We still have a bunch of important links for you guys to check out, playlists, where to get our books, how to get tickets for our Blitz tour coming up in March and April, social media, things like that. Sun is quiet. Not really a ton of too much science news came out yesterday. They dropped all of the bigger news earlier in the week, which we covered in our other videos. Am I building a bunker at Observer Ranch? Yeah. Obviously. Burnt Toast, hello. All new observers, please, oh, please watch the playlist. Yes, please, oh, please watch the playlist. Whatever question you think you have about Earth's catastrophe cycle will be answered, along with your next 1,000 questions. Seriously. And it's free. Yes, you could get all of those answers by reading our books. Those are not free. But you can get all the answers for free. Close the arc. Had brain surgery. Metal insert. I've followed you for years since. Anxiety common for others like you. Yeah, well, I don't have any scientific studies you can volunteer with, but yeah, a lot of people who have metal inside their bodies are concerned about that. I have metal in my body, and I'm a little concerned about it as well. Not a lot of you guys know I was attacked by a dog when I was in second grade. It actually ripped my ear off. I don't know if you can see the line that goes right there, but everything from there up is reconstructed. And since I watched the dog eat part of my cartilage, yeah, there's metal in there. So it's something I think about as well. Best thing you can do is help your body field, as we've talked about in several of these shows. Proper diet, exercise, mental exercise, things like that. Batfly. Suspicious observers on Joe Rogan is a must. I would agree, but I'm also coming to the realization that I am persona non grata over there for whatever reason. Who knows? You haven't seen anything about suborbital habitats in our books. Suborbital habitats. Like, not a great place to be when the micronova occurs, that's for sure. How does the Ohio Valley look during and after the wave? Wet. Very, very wet. Will, did you see our flood maps playlist the other day? It's a good one. Answers a bunch of those questions. It says you were on here twice, but I'm only seeing one of them. Mr. C says, I'm 25% titanium. That percentage might be a little off. And I figure, why worry about it? What will be, will be. Refuse to live my life in fear. 25% titanium. That would make you like Wolverine like. Interesting. Yes, Ivanovich, you made a live show. That was one of the things I was hoping for this morning. That not to mention that coming on here live and just talking to you guys is a little easier than making morning news. That I could use a little easy after being up all night with my little one. But yeah, I also was like, hey, not only is it easier, but there's a bunch of people who never get to make the live shows in the afternoon. So why not roll like this morning? I don't know if that's pronounced nigh or nay, but thank you. Popping in twice already this morning. Miss Pounds, no, I do not need a coffee. I don't drink it. Even if I'm tired, I'll be all right. You guys are giving me energy right now. Appreciate that. Matthew Beck, how was jury duty? Well, I didn't actually have to do it. And I'm really, really glad because let's just say it was not normal jury duty. They were selecting something else jury related for the entire 2023 year. So I'm really glad I got out of that one. And I actually forgot. I didn't even have to waste that time going there yesterday. I forgot Juris Doctorates aren't allowed to be on juries. It's been a while since I learned that. But anyway. Hi, Ralph. Always great to see you, truly. Instead of the PDF version of your books, I bought the real thing so I have something to read in the dark. Also got the hoodie and fleece jacket so I can stay warm and maybe find other SOs out here. We'll be off to work in a bit, but have a great day. You have a great day as well. And people wearing suspicious observers hats, shirts, fleeces. I've heard many people say that they'll just be out somewhere and someone will pop up to them and be like, hey, do you watch the show? And all of a sudden they've got a new friend. So yeah, that's a thing. Daniel says my left rib cage is 100% titanium. Whoa. Strengthen that body field, brother, in all the ways I've been mentioning before. Jay says, I once did a video with a scientist mentioning TR3Bs propelling through plasma filaments in the solar systems. Do I remember which one that was? No, I don't, actually. I have made more videos than I can remember, apparently. If anybody else remembers, toss Jay a link there. I have no idea what that would be. Thoughts on hiding inside a large plastic container to reduce metal insert risks during the event? I mean, yeah, but the problem is it's got to be sealed. Like, what are you going to do? Just live in there? How do you know when it's coming? What if you're off by 2 hours and you suffocate? If it's already gone past, how would you know, okay, it's safe to come out? Strengthen your body field is by far and away the best answer to that question. Proper diet. Don't put crap in your body. Get physically and mentally strong and healed. Debbie, I assume a compass will not survive, and if you cannot put rebar in concrete walls of a bunker, what is the ideal material to use? Wood, hempcrete, aircrete. You don't want your bunker to be so far underground that it needs that much reinforcement. And, there's angles you can, putting it straight up like this as your wall is one thing. There's angles you can use that make it a little less necessary to have rebar. I am not technically qualified to give architectural advice, but just use your head on that one. There's some pretty good, easy logic to think of there. And I don't know, a compass might survive. Depends on if you wrap it in plastic or put it in a plastic container. Chris, as always, appreciate you, Ben. Long-time observer. Love the new path lately. Thank you very much. I'm really loving the new path since it lets me do something easier like this as opposed to the morning show, which I don't know if I have the energy. Matt, why am I so angry though? I'm only angry when people waste everyone's time. Watch the playlist. There's tens of thousands of people who have done their homework, put in the work, put in the time. If you want to do a super chat here or you want to book one of the one-on-one calls with me, fine. That's cool. But in terms of like the hundreds of emails I get a day, random comments on the show, no, I'm going to use my time for the people who have demonstrated that they are putting in their time, that they really care. I don't know if that makes me angry. I do get angry sometimes. Usually it's observed. Viv, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Scrolling back up, scrolling. Ben, could you provide a more detailed map of the Appalachia flood zone? What elevation do I need to build toward to survive a worst case wave? Worst case wave, the entire Appalachians goes under. I don't know if there's necessarily a way to do a more detailed one unless somebody actually does a tsunami computer model. There's only so much that can be done. I can't sit there and look at the geography over the entire Appalachia region small enough to do a detailed thing like that. Somebody who uses maybe ArcGIS and a water rise model with a direction, that might work. But that's not something, you're talking either sophisticated program or supercomputer at that point. It's a lovely idea. I wish I could. In general, my idea is the Appalachian zone. By the way, that was my knee hitting the table. That really hurt. In Appalachia, do your best to get as high elevation as you can and still prepare to float if you have to. Good morning, Ben. All of the observers here as well. Really starting to feel a community vibe when these live streams hit. Can't wait for the ranch. Me too, buddy. It's been way too long coming. And yeah, there is a bit of a community here. You should see the in-person events. They're like happy family reunions where there's no beef between family members. Like the way like everybody wishes a family reunion would go. That's live observers events. Seriously. So titanium has a melting point of 3,000 degrees. Will it get that hot during the event? Well, the ambient temperature won't, but you don't know what the electrical effect's going to be. Never forget that electrical, Joule heating and interaction with resistivity, it's very different from just, what is the ambient temperature around this object? Having electric current run through something it's a different ballgame. Like in the NOAA event, the Earth came back with land. When everything is over, will land resurface? Yes. Those flood maps I did from the video, that's not like, those areas get flooded and then they're just flooded forever. No, the waters recede. This is one of Doug Vogt's absolute best contributions to all of catastrophism. His stuff on the deep canyons running off the sides. those are about as good as it gets. The water's going to run off and they will create those canyons as well. Anthony, appreciate you very much. Oh, missed one. Missed two. Love the app. Thanks, Let's Go, Brandon. The app is not mine anymore, but the disaster prediction app is still a thing. It's still got all the stuff that we had originally put in it, but now it's run by Todd Kleckner, 9rese.com. That's 9, the number, RESE.com. Hopefully it's a good steward of that. Speedy recovery to my son. Thank you. Could really use it. Don't want another night like I had last night. I've emailed you on behalf of the PDF. Could you check it out? It's about the playlist. Subject permission for. I mean, if it's permission to tell people about it or show your friend, yeah, you can do that. Write an article about it, do videos about it, sure. I do want this information to be spread after all. For those who are just joining, which is about, 1,000 of you since I last said this, we're coming to you live this morning for two reasons. One, I am too tired to do the regular morning show. This is much easier. And I'm too tired because I was up all night with my sick little one. Hopefully they feel better today. And also, most observers don't get a chance to actually jump on to the live events when they're in the afternoon and the evening. So I figured maybe you got a shot to do it this morning. Ben, will the days and nights be longer while the crust is unlocked? It depends on what part of the world you're in. When it happened last time, some people had a long night, some people had a long day. Some people were getting ready for day to turn into night, and then the sun came back up again. Or the opposite. They were getting ready for night to turn into day, and then the sun went back down again. And if you take a globe and you actually turn it like this while it's still spinning, you can see how different places are going to experience daylight and nighttime differently in terms of the shift during the unlocked crust event. Hello, Ben. On my latest America flood map, is the water level from the initial rise or is that from the slosh back, particularly the Nebraska region? That's the initial rise. That is the initial rise. Bending Rodriguez, bite my shiny metal. Ben and people watching, are steel belted tires filled with concrete or compactable soil a reasonable building material? In theory, the rubber should insulate the steel. I would pick compactable soil over concrete, but that's just me. Interesting question. If anybody else wants to answer, Bender, have more insight on that, just toss it in there. Anthony, hello again, and thank you. William says, I want to build my house in the biggest piece of bedrock I can find so I can tell everybody I've been living under a rock. Thanks for the love. Right on, William, and that's creative, funny. Yeah. We are approaching a time when living under a rock will be a good thing. How about that? Anthony Sneak, you have a question. Do you? Can you type it in? Like, there's no way I'm going to see you in all the regular comments. There's no way I'm going to see that. If you're still struggling, you can email me. Oh, Matt, that's a good one. We may not all be living under a rock yet, but we're all living under a crock. Wow. Clown world. Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Dr. Villas Jagdale. You're just going to type India over and over and over again. Larkstar, thank you very much. Very welcome. Happens when the magnetic poles impact. Watch the playlist. Scuba, I don't know what SSP is. Thoughts on SSP? I have no idea what that is. Could be a million different things for all I know. Hmm. Antonio asked if I'm the Noah of our time. Now, Noah built the boats. I'm telling you guys, build the boats. Anybody who listens to me is the Noah of our time. More than one. Multiplying. Like Agent Smith in The Matrix. Okay, thank you. Transcribed your vids, printed out for when the grid will go down. Maybe could be helpful for fellow observers. Also, how close to plastic boxes for best insulation? How to close plastic boxes. The lid leaves spaces. Not all plastic bins. Not all. Some do, yeah. Some do not. Taking the time to find the right kind of bin is best. Donna says, I see land available in Mexico and Colorado, but there is no water source. Says who? Will there be new rivers, etc. after the shift, or would it have less water? First of all, rain is going to be a thing after this. There's going to be a lot of rain. I don't know, well, maybe in Mexico, but I don't know too many places in Colorado where there's no water source. You'd be amazed at where you can find water. To the untrained eye, lots of places look like they don't have water. But they do. You just have to know where to look. Hello, Ragtag Dirtbag. Good to see you as always, and I'm still amused by your name. That line goes through all the ancient stone sites around the world. I wonder if that's the equator in the past cycle. Maybe. Maybe. Scuba. Oh, SSP, you meant the secret space program. They're probably doing secret stuff in space, but some of the stuff I've seen people talking about the secret space program, like, oh, they already have massive colonies on other planets. They're already visiting other stars. No. No. Just no. Some of it is just logically ridiculous. Other stuff they say is demonstrably false. Laziness and ignorance breed anger. Watch the playlist. Priceless time well spent. That is true. It's amazing how many of your questions can be answered in the playlist. Have a buddy from intelligence community says Project Warden is real. Black projects are real and have been funded to progress past these events. A lot of the stuff I've heard of about how they're planning for it, somebody gave them bad information. Information that doesn't even come close to making sense. I will call you back. Yeah. If you've got more information on that burnt toast, I'd love to hear it via email or something. Minka says, I feel bad about the books that will get flooded. Yeah, save what you can then. Get to high ground. Dragons, I'm trying to think of something funny to say to your comment right there. And all that can come to my mind is a your mom joke, so we're not going to do it. And do you follow X22? If yes, your thoughts. I don't. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what X22 is. So I'm sorry, I don't have thoughts, Andrea. Viv B, thank you very much. Bear Post is made in America 2 words, asking for a friend. I don't get it. I don't get it, Bear Post. But I do thank you very much. If anybody else gets it, I hope somebody gets it and is laughing at that so they can benefit from the commentary there. Margaret says, we are in Cisco, Texas. Can't move. Any suggestions? Not that it helps. We are the highest point for several countries. I presume you mean counties. You're still going to need to float. You're still going to need to float. Have something that floats if you can't move. Doesn't have to be super fancy. After the pole flip, Canada will be on the equator. Yep, correct. The barefooted gardener. Of course, it seems that the better of a position your location is going to be in after the Earth's crust displacement, the more you're going to have to deal with beforehand in order to enjoy that thing. For example, Canada, yeah, if you survive in Canada, you're going to be in great climate conditions afterwards. You got to survive the cold, potentially for years if the power goes out before the actual shift with no electricity. You are much more likely to get your power taken out because of your high geomagnetic latitude, things like that. That's if Trudeau doesn't get you first. We'd like to laugh at that, but it said we reach technological singularity within a decade. I believe this is why the events come when they do, to stop AI. There are a lot of things that happen with synchronicity, and they seem to have almost a magical beauty to how well they go together. If that turned out to be true, it wouldn't shock me one bit. Hi, Laura. Thank you for the teal pair. Fist bump right back to you. It's awesome. Scrolling. What will the climate of the new Valley of the Sun be like after 3 years, 5 years, 20 years? I've got a small ranch in north central New Mexico. Pretty much the same as it is now. Slightly more rain. Slightly more rain. But we're going to be at the same latitude. Now, granted, if you're at the northern edge of the new Valley of the Sun now, you'll be at the southern edge of it after the flip. Or, if you're at the northern edge, so therefore like the coldest part right now, you'd be the warmest part of it. And so Colorado is pretty much going to be at the same latitude, but in the south. And so like Wyoming and New Mexico switch climates. It's really not all that different though. There we go. Ben, thanks for what you do. You're welcome. Will celestial navigation tables still be useful after the pole flip? Will latitude and longitude still be useful? The celestial navigation tables will be more useful than latitude and longitude. Those are all going to change. But if you can figure out, okay, I know we're not at the same latitude and longitude, but that's that star and that's that constellation. I mean, the stars up in the sky aren't going to change. It's just Earth that's going to change. And so they might not lead you to the same places they led you before, but once we figure out, hey, like once we've made a trip back and forth several times and we know that, okay, hey, we can follow these stars and do this, that's going to be reliable as well. Yes, barefooted gardener, hold off on buying palm trees just yet. It's very funny though. You guys hear that? Can you guys hear that? Doesn't sound sick, does he? Clownery. Anyway. Yeah, he doesn't sound sick, does he? Lily, maybe you do, but you don't scream like that when you're sick. And yes, all hell is always breaking loose at my house. Hot, sweet, and sticky, that's a heck of a username. But thank you for your support. Really appreciate that. Anyway. Wow. Let me just go quickly check on the sun. Make sure he didn't do anything stupid while I've been awake. Stay in your seat, big guy. Calm yourself. Or as they say in Snatch, settle down, son. Behave yourself. Claim pros, maybe. Batteries aren't going to be a thing after this, buddy. I use containers in my bunker in Colorado Springs. Yep. You live in Colorado Springs? Do we know each other? If there are observers in Colorado Springs and like you've never taken the time to be like, Ben, let's go grab a coffee. Like, why? Why? My 16-year-old son is a maths and physics whiz. He wants to become one of your insider informants. Where would you advise he study? Is university worth it, or do they just pump out brainwashed conformists? Well, it can be worth it, but largely what they do is pump out brainwashed conformists, unfortunately. When it comes to catastrophism, really all the good insider information I get is from professors themselves or from folks at NASA who are too afraid to say these things at department meetings or even go talk to the person down the hall. When it comes to the sun's impact on climate, there are a couple of good universities you can go to. One of them, shockingly enough, is University of Colorado Boulder. There's some good folks in the field up there. Then again, you have to be in Boulder. Have I mentioned I don't like Denver and all the hair dye they have up there? Would the moon have a shielding effect if it was between us and the sun when the when the micronova hits? No. Plasma goes into a magnetotail around a spherical object. The magnetotail of Earth, when the moon is in its full moon position, the magnetotail can actually scour the surface of the moon. Like it concentrates it around. Like if you've got a wave coming and there's a giant rock in front of you, and the wave, you're like, oh, I'm going to go stand behind this rock. What you don't realize is it would be better just to stand to the side of the rock and try to handle the wave, because you're going to get the wave smashing around you on both sides, from both sides on the other side of the rock. Legit question, though. Batfly, thank you very much. Would living near hot springs like Pagosa Springs be a bad idea? How long before the sloshback? Well, first of all, the sloshback won't get to Pagosa. No water's going to get to Pagosa. But there is the question about a place like Pagosa where, when the waters below come forth, and I see no reason they won't, how much will they come forth? Man, I love the Pagosa Hot Springs, but no, I don't know if I'd want to live right there. Certainly not by the Mother Spring. That's for sure. You just don't know what it's going to do. Same with any kind of geothermal spot. Could be extreme. How much time do I have from when we know the flip is imminent until the peak of the ocean rise? How much time do I have to safely travel to my mountain location? It depends where you are. If you're living in Galveston, Texas, you have less time than if you're in Kansas. Does that make sense? Other than that, I mean, it's like the question of how much elevation do I need? It's like, well, where do you live in the world? The answer is different for literally every single location on the planet. Waynard, good to see you, buddy. So I don't think the initial surge inland, say 100 miles, will be much of a wave. What about when the deep water hits the continental shelf? Yeah, it could produce some turbulent activity, but that would probably be more along the areas that are already underwater at that point. Um, yeah, I mean, you could have surges through the initial inertial wave. There won't be anything like the slosh back, though. That's going to be atrocious. Um, and most of that turbulent surging will be in areas that probably have already gotten at least touched by the start of the inertial wave. I get what you're saying, though, Waynard. Batfly, I have not been to Bishop's Castle, but my wife once took the kids. They apparently had a good time. How many feet of material strata is likely to be distributed over the current surface of Earth? I think all the ancient ruins that must be dug up. So that also is different everywhere. There's going to be some areas that are actually scoured away. Um, it's really going to depend on what kind of sediment is coming with the water and how far away they are from that source. That one, again, is different for everywhere in the world. Oof. How about this one? Any advice for people experiencing mRNA injuries? Man, I'm not qualified to give medical advice, but I do know that there are several things you can look at online about detoxing from the mRNA vaccine. And I got to recommend that. This thing was a bioweapon used after a psychological operation. A psychological operation to get people to willingly take a bioweapon. Don't feel bad. You and billions of other people had it happen. Some people, even who could see what was going on, they didn't have a choice. They have to go to their job. Not an easy life we are living in. And unfortunately, they've got worse things up their sleeve coming. What's going to happen with the huge oceans beneath the crust? Yeah, that would be the water coming forth I mentioned. It's not like they're just huge oceans down there, by the way, though. They're integrated into the rock, they're integrated into the mantle. Um, it more makes the entire subterranean region volatile than it does like, oh, okay, there's a huge body of water like the Indian Ocean down there waiting. It's very distributed. But I do think a lot of the waters will come forth. Tripping through, would a few miles south of Gillette, Wyoming be okay minus the cold after? It's actually the cold before. Or Bighorns Mountains just west be better? You know, I don't know Wyoming enough to know exactly where those areas are. Um, you're probably going to stay out of the wave. But again, you know, the sun could take out power next week, in which case we could have 20 years. 20 years until the actual flip over. You're going to handle all those winters with no power. And I had somebody talking about areas of Wyoming where there's absolutely no water under the ground. I don't know if that's the case, but things to look at. But no, you're going to be out of the water in Wyoming there for sure. All right, I'm falling behind. I drill for water, and you're correct. There's water almost everywhere. Thank you. But after the Nova, drilling wells will be much harder, but not impossible. Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder. A lot harder to drill for water after that. The splashing of the, although I do know people who have done it by hand, actually, non mechanically. It just takes like 100 times longer. The splashing of the oceans. How can we be so sure? What definitive proof do we have? P.S. I've watched the playlist. No, you haven't, because if you had watched the playlist, you would know what that answer is. You haven't read Chan Thomas's book. You haven't read Cyclical Deluge. You haven't read our books. You haven't read. You haven't read what Einstein contributed to Hapgood stuff. I don't like Hapgood's contribution to Hapgood stuff, but Einstein's is pretty good. And yeah, that stuff is in the playlist over and over again. You probably haven't looked at Randall Carlson's stuff too much. There is tons of evidence. It's the basis for catastrophism. It was where all of catastrophism started. The fact that all over the world there is evidence of these massive continental size waves. We're talking 250, 350 years ago. That's where this whole thing started. They didn't know about the radiation. They didn't care about the sun. They didn't know about Earth's magnetic changes during this thing. What started catastrophism was the fact it was blatantly obvious from everywhere in the world that there was evidence of these continental size waves. Didn't mean to go hard on you there, buddy, but it's level 101 right there. Yes, Joe Potter, purebloods have suffered greatly too. And cheers to everyone whose DNA is still intact. Man, I'm really getting behind now, huh? Observer Ranch will be challenged with standing up gardening, judging by the native soils. What kind of gardening do you plan to employ? Guys, I'm not going to literally just throw the entire Observer Ranch playbook out here. Penrose, Colorado was once the apple capital of the country, judging by the native soils. Do you really know what you're talking about? Or are you just picking the part on a map that looks the brownest and you're like, oh, this is what this area has? Not to mention, we're going to be doing soil regeneration. Ben, do I know Dr. J. Marvin Herndon works? Yes, I have shared 5 of his papers in the morning shows. I don't know him personally, but I have shared his work quite a bit. He's pretty good at this. Children still being loud. Is it possible that the micronova flare could affect memory? Yup. Brain waves are electronic signals, possible disruption, protection options, body energy, your body energy field through your chakras. It's going to be my answer to almost everything in this realm. Almost everything in this realm. But yeah, it's very possible that people's memory could be affected. There's arguments to say we're already seeing some of that. After the flip, will the equatorial bulge collapse and a new one form, causing mantle heaving? The mantle heaving will be caused by several things, including the electric current surging through that area. I don't know if collapse is the right word, but almost like if we're like this and we're like this, it'd almost be like a transition period that will help with some of the continental tsunamis and pushing them in those directions. Stuff like that. All right, last 2 things I'll say, Randall, is stuff like that shows you're thinking in the right ways, but also those are the things that are the unknowns. Like, we can have a pretty good idea that the center of the United States will become depressed and sink a little bit. We can say that there's a good chance of the East African rift ripping open and there being a mantle surge, a heave up through there. Those certainly aren't going to be the only 2 areas, but picking where it's going to be, man, that's challenging. It's really challenging. And don't forget, at the equatorial bulge, which is 13 miles, that includes the sea floor as well. So the oceans kind of come up with it and go down with it as it loses that bulge. So there's a lot of unknowns there, but I hope that it's somewhat of a consolation, Randall, that I'm telling you, like, you're thinking in the right ways. Man, I'm missing a lot here. So I'm gonna have to go a little faster. I should call ourselves Frontier Survivors after the event. I like that idea. Thank you, Amy. Viv B, thank you again. Neil, is it possible to survive the sort of plasma cooling event that froze the mammoths? No, not if it hits you. Somehow I don't think A bobble hat is going to cut it. I agree. If you happen to be on the part of the planet that's unlucky enough to take that level of cold inundation or plasma like freezing, see you in the afterlife, brother or sister. Are there any plans for gatherings in 2023 in Colorado? I would like to attend, but also use the trip to plan my family's relocation to the area. Got to get out of Kansas before the power goes out. That is true. Later in 2023, we'll probably have more stuff in Colorado. Right now, we're just focused on the Blitz tour and trying to get the ranch up and running. Intrinsic Mystic, been talking to Kat about possibly teaching hydro aquaponics. I'd love to also teach gardening and adobe construction, herbal medicine too. Keep coordinating with Kat about that then, for sure. And I like your name, Intrinsic Mystic. I'm in Arizona. We've had standing water in the Sonoran almost since July. Oof. I saw ducks bathing in the desert. Fluke or coming trend? Off and on. When you get rain, it's going to be more than usual. That doesn't mean you won't have dry periods too. The triple La Nina event probably had a little something to do with that. But yeah, more extremes in all directions. It's an interesting comment you made there about the Sonoran. I didn't know that. Hey, Ben, let's grab a coffee. Okay, that's not going to help here on YouTube. Send me an email, buddy. And I'd love to. I'd love hanging out with observers. Thanks, all of you, by the way. You guys are awesome. Pickle Rick, cheers. What's the best app I can use to find elevation without spyware? I don't know what you're really asking for. You mean like the best app to find your current elevation wherever you are in the world? I have no idea. I don't use a lot of apps, to be honest with you. Maybe somebody else wants to answer Pickle Rick in the comment section. Doing a simple internet search for elevation, though, actually, I mean, those maps are pretty accurate. The world's nuclear power stations all failing at once, a concerning factor. Joshua, with all due respect, watch the playlist. We've talked about the nuclear facilities 6 or 7 times at this point. But before you do that, if you're really, really worried about that, go ahead and watch a video called The Nuclear Scare Scam by Galen Windsor. And all I'll say is you don't want to be right next to the nuclear plants. But for the vast majority of the world, it's going to pale in comparison to the other stuff going on. It will not match the level of radiation coming from the sky, put it that way. Can you still hear those kids? Will any ancient sites be realigned? Yeah, probably the ones that are currently in Antarctica. Most of the ancient sites, what we call ancient sites, were built after 12,000 years ago. The vast majority of them are not super old. Hello, my relative recently had an accident leading me to have a titanium rod put inside my femur. Should I try to get it taken out once healed? You know, if possible, maybe. If it's going to cause a potential risk, just increase your body energy field. I know it's tough. Eat right every day. Don't cheat. Don't do too many drugs. Don't drink. Regardless of how you feel in the morning, go to the gym. Do your meditation. Do your trauma healing work. I was up all night with my little one. But you know what I'm going to do after this live stream? I'm going to work out because that's what I do. I'm going to go down to Observer Ranch and meet some observers who are coming into town because that's what I do. Even if I don't feel good that day, even if I'm tired, adopt that mindset. Anybody who doesn't have a tiny shred of Andrew Tate in them has no shot. No shot. Any efforts to building a pyramid? Not from me. That's for darn sure. If any of you guys could pull that off, I welcome you to try. Will my truck with points have a chance of surviving the kill shot? I don't know what a truck with points is. Just for a one-way drive to get away from population. You know, that's why we're building the big burb. I mean, the idea is not to be able to cruise around after the catastrophe. The idea is if it's really bad, make one trip to where we need to get to. And if you can start the vehicle again after that, it's a bonus. But that's really the point of this. Try to get one drive from where you are, which you have deemed unsafe, to a place that you deem more safe. Ragtag, if you meant to type something else instead of truck with points, just email me and I'll answer that. I'm going to jump off here because, again, like I said, I got to get a little stuff done. Got to work out. Got to go down to Observer Ranch. Once again, we came to you live today so that you guys could maybe, who normally can't get on the live stream, might be able to jump on one this morning. Besides, this is, believe it or not, even though this took an hour, this is much easier for me than doing the morning news. And I could use that after being up with my little one who was sick all night, who doesn't really sound very sick anymore, does he? But anyway, guys, if nothing else, I'll see you tomorrow morning for the daily show. Be safe, everyone.